Hi everyone, welcome to Shivers. Our first horror movie review for the month of October kicks off with a bang with the Saw X film. Spoilers ahead, so if you simply want to hear the rating, skip to the end of the video. The latest film in the Saw franchise is produced and created by the same people who created Saw 6 and Saw 3D. In terms of timeline, this film falls between Saw 2 and Saw 3, with us following John Kramer as he's diagnosed with terminal brain cancer. The specialist telling him that he has only a few months to live. John attends a cancer support group and runs into one of the members a few weeks later, seeing that guy lively and seemingly healthy. The man tells John that he took part in an experiment from this traveling group of doctors who have the cure to cancer and know how to solve all terminal cancers. He gives John the website of the experiment, and thus our movie truly begins. John is accepted into the experiment and travels to Mexico, where the doctors are quote unquote hiding out, so the big pharma companies won't find them. He meets a young girl, Gabriella, who lives in the house where the doctors are working out of. He meets her family, some of the doctors along the way, and our main doctor, Dr. Peterson, whose father developed the cancer curing methods. John undergoes an eyes open brain surgery, watching the team clear out his cancer on screen. He wakes up with a bandage around his head and a new lease on life, with Dr. Peterson telling him that they successfully got all of the cancer out. John goes to celebrate and buys a bottle of tequila for Gabriella to thank her for her hospitality, but upon returning to the home, the doctors are gone, and so is everything and everyone in the house. He rips the bandage off his head, and no surgery was ever performed. It was all a scam. Being who he is, John Kramer gets to work and enlists the help of Detective Hoffman in finding each of the doctors responsible for this scam. He brings them all back to the original house, including Gabriella, and hooks them up to their respective traps. He begins his games with the help of Amanda, who seemingly flew down to Mexico to help him. The rest of the film focuses on the traps and the relationship between Amanda and John, truly honing in on this father-daughter type bond that's much more revealing of Amanda's human side. Each person truly does try in their traps, which is a nice change of pace from sitting there screaming as the time ticks down, but nobody survives until our finale. After a series of unplanned events, John is stuck in his own traps with Gabriella's little brother. And this is exactly what we needed to see in terms of understanding the real John Kramer, the compassionate man underneath who's simply a seeker of justice. Dr. Peterson is able to outsmart John for a moment, but does get stuck in a trap once greed gets the better of her. It's unclear by the end of the movie if she still remains alive, but it's safe to say that they set this ending up to give us even more Saw films, and gave us a villain that we hate more than any other villain personally I've ever seen. Getting into the rating itself, on a scale of 1 to 5 for story itself, I would give it a 5. It's nothing that is universally brand new, but it's a good way of playing on even more of why John distrusts people. He's in this terrible time in his life of going through cancer and being told that you're going to die in a couple of months, and you go to someone who's giving you hope, and that hope is completely taken advantage of in you. That's terrible, and I think any of us can really relate to that. So just the feeling and the true humanity of the story itself is why I would give it a 5. For originality, I would give it a 4 out of 5, kind of the same justification. It's a Saw film. We're going through the perspective of John Kramer and Amanda. It's the same characters we know, the same tactics that we know, but it's a little bit different, a little bit more human. For the acting, I would give it a 5. I think out of all of the Saw movies, this is the first one where we really see people, their true reactions. There's some people crying, there's some people screaming, and then you can see that they're sort of talking themselves through cutting their legs off or cutting their heads open. And that self-awareness I have not seen in another Saw movie, and I really, really appreciated that. Again, bringing that humanity side. For the production, I would give it a 4 out of 5. It's a professional movie, it's well done, but having all of them in one warehouse and having that as pretty much the only set of the whole movie makes it feel a little bit low budget, a little bit cheap. For scares, I would give it a 4 out of 5. Saw in general is not necessarily a scary movie, but this one, more than a lot of the other ones, was very uncomfortable, unsettling to watch some of these things. And maybe it's because of the facial expressions, the true reactions of all of these people, I'm not sure. But I would give it a 4 out of 5. Getting a total score together, it is a 4.4 out of 5. I am a huge fan of the Saw franchise, and of course I was super excited to see this film, particularly after following the terrible Chris Rock Saw film. I've been defending John Kramer for years and Saw for years, and this film shows you exactly why you should cheer for him, why you should be on his side of logic, because there are truly bad people out there who will do and kill anyone for money and other bad things. If nothing else, I think this film is perfect for anyone who wants to understand the Saw films from a story and truth perspective, gaining truths and insight into these characters, I think more than we really ever have before. My only critique of the movie is the logistics and everyone being in the same room. The logistics portion of how would he be able to put together all of these traps with just things he found around this warehouse. Also, how is he flying his puppet Billy down to Mexico? Seems a little silly, but yeah, and everyone just being in the same room. We don't really see that. I don't think we see that in really any other Saw film. I would prefer all of them to be in separate rooms, all of them clicking play on their own cassettes. The only other critique that I have, I love the fact that they were using flip phones because it takes it back to the era between Saw 2 and Saw 3. But at one point, John's signing into his email and he's using Gmail, and I don't even think Gmail was up and running in 2005. But I could be wrong. Either way, I think just some of those really small things would be my critiques. Other than that, I really loved it and I would always recommend it. So comment below if you agree with this rating. Comment below if you like the Saw films or hate them and what you think.